Okay guys, I'm going to do a quick video on the tillering process of the bow. This is where I am in the bow world with this thing. Now, let me go over what I'm doing here. I got the nocks on it in the last video, and this bow is 65 inches long. I put a bowstring, just a regular bowstring from a bow that's 72 inches long. So obviously the string is about 68, 69 inches long, which gives me this. And that's what you want. You want a string that can pull the bow back. You can get it on the bow without the bow bending. That's called a tillering string. And what we're going to do, I'm going to try to keep as much of the bow in the camera, in the viewfinder, but I know one limb's not going to be quite there. So if nothing else, I'll show you each individual limb, and you're just going to have to trust me on the whole limb. But I'll do the best I can here. Anyway, what I do is I start to pull the bow back. Now, whenever you take wood off the belly of the bow, you want to stretch the wood a little bit. Just flex it. Just want to flex the wood. I have done no tillering on this, by the way. This is just the ½ inch, I cut it down from 3/4 inch to ½ inch with the fades and the handles with the static limb and the handle full length, the fade down to ½ inch and back up again to full length. No tillering yet, and look how well the bow's bending already. That's pretty darn good. But what are we seeing? Well, it's pretty close. I mean, I'm pretty pleased. That looks awfully good. But what I do notice is that I'm going to turn it over first, because sometimes you have to flip the bow over. If there's any twist in the wood, it could be, you want to make sure it's behaving the same way on the top and bottom. Alright, that's a little more dramatic. There might be a slight twist to this wood. Its bending's pretty straight back, and it feels like it's coming straight back into my hand, but that looks very different to me than that. That looks almost even to me. But I flip it over, and now look. Okay, what I'm seeing when I flip it over is that this limb is bending more, not a lot more, but bending more than the top limb. Okay, but let's just look at this limb. I'm going to get just this limb in the picture. Now what we want to do is look at the curve. Is it any stiff spot, any hinges? What a stiff spot is let's pretend the middle of the bow had a stiff spot. It would curve, then it would stop curving, it would stay straight, then it would curve again. It would bend again. That would be a stiff spot. What that would mean is that there's too much wood in this area. And they're pretty easy to fix, because you just mark the area that's not bending and only sand in that area a little bit at a time and keep checking it until it's all uniformly bending again. That's a stiff spot. A hinge would be the reverse. You'd have a little bit of bend here, a lot of bend here, and then a little bit of bend here again. Those are a little bit worse in the world of bow making, because you have to sand, you mark the spot again, then you sand or rasp above and below until they all are bending uniformly again. But you're weakening the limb to do that, which means you might miss your draw weight. So let's take a look at just this limb. Look at the curve. That looks like a pretty uniform curve to me. Pretty nice. I like it. Let's look at it again from up top. Yeah, that's a nice curve. I don't see any stiff spots or hinges. That means I pretty much nailed that. This limb's pretty much done. I just have to reduce it now. In general, if I need to take any more wood off, I'll be going with the rasp from fade to fade until it bends to the point that's the draw weight I want, which in this case would be maximum amount. So I just have to know that it's bending enough to get back to my full draw with the right string on it. Now let's look at the bottom limb. Now it didn't show much when it was on the bottom before. Now I don't think that's curving very well. Let's look at it from the top, because we showed more when it was in this position. Okay, what are we seeing here? I am seeing a stiff spot. I'm seeing bend here. I'm seeing not much bend here. and I'm seeing it bend again up here. Tell me if you guys, well, don't tell me, just see if you guys can see that. It's kind of leaning. Actually, it looks like it's bending okay there. I think the problem's in here. Yeah, okay. Now, oh, yeah, I feel it. I can feel a little bit of a hill, very slight hill. It goes flat, you know, it's nice and uniform, and boop, little hill right here, and then back down again. Which makes sense, there's more wood here. So, like that. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take just very carefully with the fine side of that 4/4 rasp, just rasp that down, constantly checking to make sure that I'm not overdoing it until this limb is bending uniformly. Now when I do that, I'm weakening the limb. So by the time I'm done, hopefully, these limbs will be bending in a uniform manner, pulling back the same amount. At which time, if that works, the tillering is pretty much done. And then it's just a matter of reducing the limb or stretching the wood until it's to your draw length. And that's another video, but we'll go over that when I get there. So that's how I tiller the limb. Don't forget, turn it over. That's important because I couldn't see it as well when this limb was on the bottom. I turn it over and it jumped right out at me. That's why I like tillering with the eye. If you've got this on a tillering stick, you have a tendency just to and do it, and then you never really flip it over to check the other side. The nice thing about being able to tiller by eye is you can get into some really crazy things. You don't have to be worried about how nuts the wood is as much anymore because it doesn't. You're not putting it on a tree. You're not using any tools. This is Osage. This is that pretty yellow Osage orange wood, and you can see it's got hills and valleys and curves and dips and doodles but there's your tiller. Let me see if I can get it down a little lower so you can. And how well is it tillered? How about a 32-inch draw? Pretty good. How crazy can the wood get? Pretty crazy. This is called a snaky Osage. And yes, it's twisted, it's got curves in it, it's got hills, it's got valleys, but none of that matters as long as when you pull it back, it's in proper tiller. Alright guys, we'll see you soon. That's the tillering process. I will come back when the wood is equally tillered so you can take a look at that. I'm debating about backing it, but we'll see. We'll see how we get when we got it fully tillered. We'll be back.